With just 5 days to go to the U.S. presidential elections, one of the crucial battleground states has already seen a record turnout of early voters. Over 3.2 million residents of North Carolina have already cast their ballots. The state is one of the 7 swing states. Vice President Kamala Harris is looking to claw it back for the Democrats after former President Donald Trump won there for the Republicans in 2016 by 3 percentage points and just 1 percentage point in 2020. Newzroom Afrika's senior politics reporter, Senior Ziyanda Ngcobo, is on the ground for us in Raleigh, North Carolina. She joins us now live for an update on early voting as the John Chavez Memorial Park. Ziyanda, very good afternoon to you. Well, in South Africa, certainly. And a record turnout of early votes in that state.
Absolutely, Vuyo, and we're seeing many voters here. It's just after 9 o'clock here in North Carolina. They're already making their way to the early voting station, and it's very critical because, as we know, across 48 states in America, there are around over 100 million, 138 million would seem that have already cast their early ballots. And where we are, it's where Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, where their path to the White House could be determined. I'm just going to show you as we walk inside this John Harvey Memorial Center with my colleague Max to show you the status this morning. They opened at around 8 o'clock, and of course you'll know that this is a very close election, probably one of the most overpolled elections in U.S. history. And so you'll see there are many people coming here to cast their ballots. There is a lot of education that is done as well to actually explain what needs to happen. And so they start off at this table, and outside I can tell you for sure, Vuyo, there are a lot of posters where people are being canvassed to vote, the reasons to vote. The critical issues in this election have been around immigration, they've been around abortion. We've seen a lot of these topics coming up. And so let's speak to now Chief Judge Jackie Griffin. Of course, you're in charge of this early voting process. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's talk about the actual process. There's some who vote via mail and there are others who come in person. Now, in the last election, it wasn't so easy because it was during the COVID-19 pandemic, but now you're seeing a whole lot more people coming here to cast their ballots.
Correct. They are coming in all week, the entire time. Early voters come in daily, and we're here for them.
What kind of process do they have to undertake when they come and cast their ballot?
We ask them to have proof of ID when they come into our application table. Once they show proof of ID and get their application to vote, we send them on to pick their ballot up.
We've seen in the news, at least, that there are some record highs, especially here in North Carolina. We're told over 3.2 million have already cast their ballot. What does this mean for a state such as this one?
What it means, everybody is voting. The percentages, I don't have access to. The Board of Elections could answer that question.
And when we look at, the safety of the ballot, I know there's been lots of talk. In fact, some of the other voting stations, especially in the other swing states, they've been trained about, how to de-escalate for possible issues of violence or tensions that may come. Is that what you're also finding here in North Carolina?
In this area, at my site where I am Chief Judge, we don't have tension, we don't have violence. We are all a team, and we work as a team. Any escalation is de-escalated before it begins. We work together in unison with voters, campaigners, and everyone else.
And also, are you seeing any change, perhaps, in, the kind of demographic that's coming in? Is it more old people, young people? Over the years, what has been the trend?
Everybody, every age, from 100, a little over 100, down to the 18-year-olds are the persons just beginning to turn 18 by November. We have every category.
All right, thank you so much. That's Jacqueline Griffin. She is the chief judge here at the early voting station here at John Jarvis Memorial Center. It's one of the areas where there's early voting. As we've already said, there's around 3.2 million who've already cast their vote. But what's so important about this particular state, Vuyo, is the fact that it hasn't been in the control of the Democrats since 2016, and it's very, very tight. You've already mentioned Donald Trump winning by 3 percentage points in 2016, 1 percentage point in 2020, and this is one of the political battlegrounds for the election. And the Democrats are really hoping, because of the high population of black Americans, that Kamala Harris may be able to claw back some support for the Democrats. But it's anyone's guess what the outcomes will be in this particular election.
Of course, I mean, North Carolina, Ziyanda, is one of 7 swing states, and we're told that the swing state is actually where this election will be decided.
Absolutely, and you'll know that this is now when we start having that conversation about the Electoral College, and so North Carolina brings in some of the biggest numbers when you talk about the Electoral College. You just remember in 2016 that defeat then, that was suffered by Hillary Clinton. It all hinged on the Electoral College vote. You need 270 votes to be able to actually make your way to the White House, and so this is why then a state such as North Carolina becomes very critical. You know, if you go to other areas such as Washington, D.C., Maryland, for an example, it's almost a given that that's a blue state. So there are very clear areas that are blue states or red states. But when we talk about areas such as North Carolina, Arizona, Philadelphia, you do get a sense that it's quite tense in terms of the numbers. In fact, when you look at the polling, as I've said, this is probably one of the most overpolled elections in U.S. history. You can see the difference between, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. It's, 0.4 percentage points, 0.5 percentage points. And this is really a testament to how tight things are. The dynamic has completely changed since 2020. And I think it stems from 2016 when Hillary Clinton lost that election. And also, the issues of immigration. Just last night I was watching, Donald Trump at another rally in Wisconsin, and he was still going on about, illegal immigration, referring to immigrants as illegal aliens, and talking about how the decline in illegal immigrants entering the country, similar to what we also saw in our election in 2024. The issues of, immigration really coming to the fore when it comes to porous borders and generally global migration and how things have transformed over the years. So this is why then a state like North Carolina becomes very critical, especially for Kamala Harris, who entered the race quite late, Vuyo. I mean, she only had 4 months to actually campaign for this election, so it's quite critical then, if the Democrats want to claw back some of the support, that they target areas such as Philadelphia, Florida, and those other swing states, as you've mentioned.
Well, only 4 months, but a lot of money she's been able to raise in those 4 months. But how's the mood outside? Is one able to catch the fever?
There's a lot of fever, where I can tell you just walking in, you always have to walk quite quickly past some of the campaigners because you're greeted. I think there was an assumption that I'm, of course, American because I'm here at the voting station. And so, our producer said, walk by quickly because they're going to stop you and want to tell you who to vote for, who not to vote for, and that's just the mood. It's a huge contestation in terms of ideas. Vote for the constitutional, vote against against, abortion. These are just things that, get thrown at you as you just make your way into the voting center. Of course, you won't see that now because they're outside this particular venue, but there's a lot of canvassing here. You do get a sense that it is a battleground, that you need to be persuaded according to your ideas. And, even as you walk onto the streets of North Carolina, there's posters everywhere, high prices for Kamala, low prices for Trump, vote for Trump. And not even just, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. It's also about, of course, who will become, the mayor of this area and who will become the governor. These are also some of the names that you see on the ballot. So you vote, of course, for the president, who you want for your presidential candidate, but then you also vote on particular issues that are related to that state. So if in an area such as North Carolina, the issue of abortion is quite topical, as you'd know, since the overturning of Roe and Wade at the Supreme Court of Appeal, then that is an issue. You'll get asked a question on whether or not you agree, yes or no, and that becomes a part of, the question that for this particular stage, which would be like a province, so to speak, if I were to relate it back home. So you almost sort of vote for your president individually, and then you vote for who your premier would be, their governor, as you'd have it here in the U.S., and then, of course, the mayor of the particular area. So it's a battleground all around.
Our Ziyanda Ngcobo, of course, keeping us updated on that American election as Kamala Harris and Donald Trump make their final election pitches to voters. She will be keeping us updated throughout over the next few days.